everyone, and welcome to another edition of the CoCo Show, a show dedicated to our beloved TRS-80 color computer. Look, we're in front of the Radio Shack, everybody. It's our favorite. I'm your good buddy, your good pal, and longtime Battery Club member, Amigo Aaron, joined by everyone's favorite goof. It's the Brent.
It's me.
Yeah.
Remember back in Radio Shack, Aaron, when you could walk in and just buy like a component?
Yeah.
Like, man, I need a capacitor.
I'm
going to go down to Radio Shack and buy one.
You know, I'm happy you brought this up.
Oh, God. I'm sorry, people.
You've done something that you've rarely ever done on any show we've ever done. You said something that can set me off on a tangent. And here I go. You know, as a lifetime electrician and fiddler with circuit board, circuitry, repairist, if you will, sketchy tech, often there comes a time where you need a capacitor or a breadboard or a little baggie of resistors.
Sure.
Right? Where are you going to go? You know, in the old days, there were multiple spots, actually, because there were plenty of electronic stores and or hardware stores that would carry some components, right? But they slowly, over time, they went away. They went away. And at one point, you've got one choice, and it's the Radio Shack. But the Radio Shack was always there to overprice a bag of capacitors to screw you on all the components that you had to have. That's where Radio Shack came in.
That single capacitor, they might have it, but it's going to cost you $6.
Well, you can't buy one. You've got to buy a box of 30.
And of 14 different sizes.
Yeah. If you need something like a battery pack to hook into something, you're going to pay. Don't think you won't pay, because batteries are their bag. But then something happened to these Shack. I started walking in there in the electronics section. Once that was shelf after shelf of parts hanging from the pegs was relegated to a bunch of drawers. And the drawers weren't even sexy. They were just drawers with numbers on them, just like a geek would use. And I was like, this ain't good. And then one day I walked in, and gone were the computers or the remote control cars, the cheap radios. Now they were selling cell phones and stuff. I'm like, what is this crap? And at this point, the electronic component section fit in one little area of drawers. I remember going over there when I worked at the computer store to get some solder equipment, and it was pathetic. It was a pathetic display. And lo, it came to pass that the Radio Shack one day, they were gone. They were out the door. Why do you think that happened? Because they turned on their true selves. They tried to be something that they weren't, and they paid the ultimate price. It's a sad thing. So I like to remember the Radio Shack as it was when I was a kid. There were like 1 million of them. They were everywhere. They were selling computers. They were selling software. And they were selling all kinds of weird crap. I didn't know what it did. I let you hook a VCR to a car, to a battery, whatever. Who knew what it did? But it was awesome. That's a Radio Shack I care to remember. Any thoughts?
I am so sorry I brought it up.
So, on this show, we play games on the CoCo, by the way. Probably should mention that. And this week will be no exception. This might be a game title that you could get behind this week, Brent.
Oh, trust me, I'm feeling it right now.
Why? Why do you say that? The game is called Get Me Outta Here.
That's it.
That's what we're going to talk about this week. And this is a game that's based on the premise of it's an interesting premise. It's the video game equivalent of an escape room.
Yeah, and we should go ahead and say right now, we are going to spoil the game horribly.
Yeah.
So if you want to play this, we will make a note with our voices when the spoiling's starting. Yeah. But we are definitely going to spoil this game.
That's right. But before we get to the game proper, I want to talk about the inspiration for the game. And it's the modern wave that is the modern day escape room. Now, when I remember first hearing about these things, probably, 5 or 6 years ago, somebody's like, hey, did you go to the escape room? Have you been to this? I was like, what the heck's that? I thought it was some kind of kinky thing, if you want the truth. I didn't know. I thought they chained you to the wall, and then you paid $10 or whatever, so I kicked the crap out of you.
Aaron, I'll do that for free. Buddy.
I'm from a different frame of mind on that. But lo, they said you take your whole family. I was like, that didn't sound good. And then someone clued me in. I was like, oh, I got it. This is what this is. And so, explain to the people, Brent, what an escape room, a normal family escape room. What is that?
Basically, you are stuck in a room. usually with a team of people, especially nowadays, they herd in as many as they can fit in the room.
I'll do that.
Whether you know them or not. You can rent an escape room normally for just you and your buddies, but it's going to cost you.
Are they that expensive? Jeez.
They're a lot pricier now than they used to be.
Yeah.
We've actually looked at going into a few, and it was just cost prohibitive. Now, when I say that, I'm talking like $25 a person.
Holy smokes, that is cost prohibitive. I didn't think it was that much.
But you are put into a room, and your task is to usually figure out a bunch of puzzles that will get you a key or a combination or of some such to let you leave the room. The real high-end ones are all themed. They either, a haunted house or a jail cell, or, they add more environmental stuff to it.
I saw one, it's like a 20s private investigator type gimmick. You're in the office,
And they usually have you finding different objects that will fit together to solve a puzzle, which will give you a piece of the combination. And maybe there's 4 pieces of the combination. And the reason why they do that is it'll allow groups of people, instead of everyone jamming into one corner looking for something, you can kind of feel out the entire room at one time and gather your clues and then meet together and discuss and work it out.
I've seen video footage of this, various ones. In fact, I knew a chick at the lab, the crime lab, who would go in these escape rooms like weekends. I guess there's a hotel somewhere in the mountains.
Oh, I'm
they
sure
have a ton of escape rooms, and it's like a couple's deal. You go up there and you try to get out of these things. And it was medieval. You wear gear, the whole 9 yards. So I guess there's all sorts of flavors of these.
Sure.
I know locally there were at least one in Huntington, and I know there's one in Ashland as well.
They tend to pop up in college towns.
The puzzles in them, from what I've been able to just glean from watching people in there, it's very similar to the game. You have to go through a series of different puzzles that will often one leads to the other. And so you have to, and sometimes you have to backtrack to get to a previous puzzle you couldn't work before. So it's all about, that sort of thinking. It takes a certain mindset. I guess if you got a bunch of your friends and you all had different skills, I guess that would help. But I would just want to have the smartest, most logical person in my group, I think, and it wouldn't be me.
Well, I mean, they usually come down to number puzzles or letter puzzles, or some of them are physical puzzles, like think Rubik's Cube type stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is good to have a variety of people to eventually solve the room.
So that's what they are. Now, again, I've never been in one of these.
Spoilers beyond this point.
I've never been in one of these, but I feel like that after playing Get Me Out of Here, I feel sort of like that I've been in one.
Well,
let's talk about it, shall we? So, again, this is Get Me Out of Here. We're actually happy, if you're watching live, that we have one of the authors of this game in the chat. This is a game by the Thayer brothers, Paul and Tim, released, as best as I could tell, January 15th, 2022, the Brent. So just a few years ago. Let's talk about the boys, Paul and Tim Thayer. I looked up as best I could find credit-wise. Paul, I actually watched some interviews with him. He worked on, remember we played Timberman a couple years ago?
Sure.
That was his. Timberman was one of his. And he also did the graphics on Digger 3, which is another really good game. He also worked on CoCo 3 Video Poker and CoCo Stud, which happens to be my nickname, by the way, in case you were wondering. Tim worked on CoCo 3 Video Poker and CoCo Stud as well. And this was sort of, from talking to Paul, this was sort of his baby. He did a lot of the puzzly parts of this. Also, Paul mentioned to me that the digitized sound in this was done by Simon Johansson, Jonasson, my bad, did the digitized sound. This is, you could call these guys the CoCo Brothers software. That's, I guess, the official producers of this item. It's the Thayer boys. Now, this requires a CoCo 3, 128K of RAM, and a joystick or CoCo mouse at this time. Now, I will tell you, this is one game where I was happy to have the Mister because this game plays, I think it's a much better game to get to use a mouse. The joystick is not, I mean, if you have a Black Beauty, you're okay, but if you don't, you're sort of boned. That's one of the things the Black Beauty is great for, actually. This is the kind of game where they're great for, like, pseudo mice. This is a game, this is a sort of a single-player adventure game, but really what it really is, it's a single-player escape room game. You are placed in an escape room or a room, and you are pretty much instructed to get out by using clues you're going to find in the room when the game comes up. Now, Brent, just right away when this thing honed into view, what did you think of the opening shenanigans when this thing comes up with the little digitized audio and the graphics? What were your thoughts on how it looked when it popped on?
I was very confused. And I was, in fact, all of the digitized graphics in this are confusing because they are in German.
No,
it's not German.
So I was going to get to that, but the opening screen of this game has a digitized picture of a chick.
Yes.
Do you know who that is?
No.
She's a chick from Happy Gilmore. She's a character in Happy Gilmore, the golf movie.
Okay. I wasn't referring to that one.
I know you're not. Now later on, when you play with when you do a certain thing in the game, another digitized person comes up. It almost looks like Martin Short, but I think it's the same chick, different scene, and it says something in a foreign language. Now you know me. I speak multiple languages. No, I don't. Google does though.
Yeah, that's where I translated it from.
Well, it doesn't translate from German. It's Dutch.
Oh,
it's
okay.
Dutch.
There you go.
In fact, if you want to talk about that, I mean, it's hard to put that into perspective at this point in our conversation, but we can talk about it later. But I did translate it in case you're interested in knowing what they said about it.
It just says, basically, when are you going to get around to getting out of that room?
Yeah. There you go. Paul just mentioned that the picture in that scene is a digitized picture of the guy who did the digitization. So there you go.
There you go.
So, Brent, anyway, getting back to it, this game comes up, the title screen comes on, it makes the wacky noise, and then a room appears. What did you think about this?
I think it looks slick. I think everything looks like it's supposed to look. And when you get into it, it is just an escape room. And think of it as a point-and-click adventure game, where you have to click around the room to find items that you work out a puzzle and to eventually get the code, the 4-digit code to leave the room. So yeah, I thought it represented itself well, and I think the title is very fitting.
Yeah. This game reminded me of something. The looks of it, it's a nice, colorful game, but the graphics are what I would call ultra advanced.
No,
they're sort of line drawings that you would expect in a basic program.
Sure. Yeah.
And but one of the things.
But everything looks like it's how it's supposed to.
Right, and
that means a lot.
There are scenes where you will zoom in on an item if you do it, but for the most part, you're going to be looking at this room. It's a room that you see 3 walls. One has a door. On one wall, you see pictures of flower pots. On the other wall, you see a large framed picture. And you see a couch on the ground. You see a table with some stuff on it. And you're pretty much turned loose.
Yep.
We mentioned that this supports the CoCo mouse if you've got one. You'll notice in the playthrough we're playing through right now, Brent actually, this is his playthrough. You'll notice 2 mouse cursors, because I believe you played this with X-Roar.
I played it, yes. I actually played this in a web browser through emulation.
So what you're seeing here is his mouse and the game mouse are slightly off. So if you're seeing 2 mice, that's why. But that mouse goes a long way in this, because you're going to be clicking on. So the way you investigate this is as straightforward as it could get, if I'm honest. You're going to be clicking on items, and for example, just off the top of my head, on the couch there are a couple cushions or pillows. If you click on them, they will move, and there's something behind them, and you can pick that up. You can look at that if you want to. It'll give you a zoomed-in picture
of something.
Of some things. You are early on. You're tasked with a with a 4 to getting into something that has a 4-number combination.
Well, if we're going to talk about the game proper,
well,
let me do it.
Hold on. I want to give an example, and then you can take over.
Okay, because you're kind of slaughtering.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to explain how this works. So because for me, I'd never done this before. Never played a game like this.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, what could I glean from looking over this room that will help me figure this out? And so I looked around, and the first thing, just without doing anything, you could see that the flower pots on the wall had different numbered of petals on them, okay? And I thought, okay, this is probably a 4-digit code. And this is how I progressed at the beginning. This is how I moved along these lines. Now, please, by all means, give us your full scoop here.
So, first of all, you didn't finish the game.
No, I did not.
Okay. The game length in total, if you know exactly what you're doing, you can finish the game in 20 seconds.
What?
Yeah, and that's literally just starting the game up, going to the door, putting in the code.
Oh.
Because the code never changes.
Okay.
So it is static in that regard. But by doing that, it does allow you to make puzzles that fit with the clues you're given. If you're having random numbers or something, especially the clues that they were given, it wouldn't work out. So let me say that I enjoyed this game, and I enjoyed this game in levels that I haven't enjoyed a game for a long time. And the reason why that is I eventually got stuck on a puzzle, and there's nothing online about this game. Yeah. There's no walkthroughs or anything like that. So I actually went to some of my friends online, and I posted pictures, and I said, listen, this is the clue I'm getting. I'm sure this clue leads to a 4-digit code. Help me out. What do you guys glean from this? And me and 2 of my buddies sat down and figured it out. We figured out, and it wasn't like one of them just saw it and said, oh, that's a blah, blah, blah. We probably spent a half an hour together just trying to decipher one of the clues in the game. That is old school fun.
It's just like a real escape room.
That is old school fun. And it was so rewarding to get to the point of solving that and then going back into the chat and saying, and I told them I'd do it even though they said they didn't want it done. This was Mike and Jamie who helped me out on this. It's the same people I play Baldur's Gate 3 with. So we all had a blast of a time trying to figure out that last puzzle. So I want to go through the game proper. If there's anything you want to say before that,
so you're going to go through the entirety
of the game? I'm
going
to go through the entire game because it's only going to take a few minutes.
Okay.
And there's nowhere out there that has a walkthrough for this. So if other people are stuck, I want to try to help them out.
Okay, go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
Okay, first things first.
By the way, spoiler coming.
Oh,
so if you want to play this game, stop listening for the next couple minutes.
Yes.
Go ahead.
First things first, play this game in POW. If you don't, the colors are all screwed up. It took me a while to figure that out. So, secondly, when you first walk into the room, you're going to have a couch to your left, a lamp desk in front of you, a plant in front of you, a picture on the wall, and another desk. You'll want to go to the couch, move the cushions. Behind the first cushion is a plug-in power plug for an iPad and a bong. The bong is not required to beat the game, but you get a little ditty if you go that route. So go ahead and grab it.
That was a real surprise, that part.
Then go into the desk lamp drawer, click on the desk lamp, click on the drawer, and you will find a SIM card for the iPad and a lighter. Again, the lighter's not required, but grab it because you can have a little fun. Next, click on the plant. Grab the piece of paper that's in the plant, so we'll put it in your inventory. Here's why I got tripped up the first time, and everyone else will too. If you click on the Mighty Mac poster, it will take it down, but the Mighty Mac poster itself is the clue that you need. So don't click that yet. If you do, that's fine, but know that Mighty Mac is the clue.
How did you figure that out exactly?
I restarted.
Uh-huh.
I restarted, and in fact, that was when I changed it to POW colors, so everything made a little more sense overall. Then you're going to want to click on the desk, and that will allow you to either focus on a little safe or onto an iPad. For the iPad, you want to take out of your inventory the plug it into the iPad, and you will want to take the SIM card and plug it into the iPad. If you don't put the SIM card in, when you click on the buttons to do the code, it won't work. The code for the iPad are the hanging pictures that are in the main room.
Yep.
6241.
It's creepy to me how memorized you've made this.
Sorry. You put in, and when you do that, it'll bring up a Google prompt for the iPad. Type in Mighty Mac, and it will give you a little bit of a wiki entry for a bridge in Michigan. Type that when the length of the bridge is a code. It is 26372, I believe. You want to go to the little safe, type that in. That will open up the little safe and give you a key. Now is when you want to remove the poster off the wall. Behind the Mighty Mac poster will be a safe. Use the key, get into the safe. From the safe, you will get a flashlight. Take the paper and the flashlight and combine them. And
that's where I stopped, right there.
And it will reveal a hidden message on the paper. Now, here's where everyone gets stuck.
Well, I got stuck before that.
Here's where everyone with a brain gets stuck.
No.
The picture is borderline nonsensical because it is supposed to be representing a football, the letter L, and then a stylized date in the corner.
2, and then like a key, and then something.
10.
By the way, the football looks like it's in a setting in a bowl.
Yes. So what this paper, and this is why I shared around and got stuck on and had to get help with.
Who figured this one out?
It was actually a group effort. I'll get to it. What this is actually trying to tell you is Super Bowl 50. The problem with this is, for actual Super Bowl 50, they never use the Roman numeral L. Yes, L stands for 50, and yes, the Super Bowl uses Roman numerals for a majority of their games. But for Super Bowl 50, they just use the numbers 50 in all of their symbolism. So that is why I didn't think that it was an L. Second reason why I didn't think it was an L. When you click on a button in the corner, the lower left-hand corner of the screen, and the woman comes up and says something in a different language, I thought it was German. Turns out it was Dutch. Mm-hmm. Regardless, I knew it wasn't English. So I was thinking, if this is going to be anything, it's not going to be a football. It's going to be a rugby ball.
Oh, I see.
And that sent me down a whole different pathway. Well, I didn't tell my friends about being in a different language. So when they looked at the thing, we also thought it could be a math problem. Because the way it's drawn, it almost looks like it's a scale, and like two of one unit gives you 10 of another unit.
Yeah.
So we went down that path for a little bit. Turns out it's a football, L being for 50. And if you go to the Google pad and you type in Super Bowl, it gives you the box scores where the Carolina Panthers lose to the Denver Broncos 10-24. That is the final code for the door to leave the escape room.
Yes. That's brutal. That's brutally difficult.
Even
Buck Owens was stymied, and that guy's double tough.
The only issue I had with all of it was when they used an L, and I was not expecting there to be an L to represent 50. So it really threw me for a loop, and I never went down that road again.
Yeah.
But one of my buddies said, listen, the code has to be 2410. That was the score. Well, Carolina was the home team, which meant their score would have been above. And the only reason why I figured that out is because I actually went to the Google pad in game, typed in Super Bowl, and that's how it was listed.
So, very clever. It's amazing that you pulled that off. And like I said, there was no walkthroughs on this.
No.
So you're on your own. And I did not make it. I was closer than I thought, but I didn't get there. So I like the fact that you guys use Team Think on this.
Yes, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. And like I said, part of the fun of this was I couldn't go to the web. And I couldn't just look up a walkthrough. Not that I do for 85% of the stuff we play, unless it's something that's just ridiculously brutal, like Space Quest or something.
Yeah.
But this game allowed me to go back and live a part of my childhood that literally, how often does that kind of thing happen in a modern setting when you can 99.9% of the time just type in to your search browser and get the answer you're looking for instead of having to do a group think with your friends.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
You've ruined that now, this show.
Well, I'm the kind of person who wants joy for me, screw everyone else.
Now,
no, I'm just kidding.
I want to mention that I had a very brief conversation with Paul before the show.
Sure.
He mentioned
Paul, one of the
Paul there, he's in here now.
Game designers.
He said he mentioned that he wrote a special assembly routine on this in order the screens to be loaded from disk as you played. But aside from that, it was pretty much a straightforward build. I believe I read Curtis somewhere mentioned that something had been written so you couldn't list out the program and cheat, which I find that pretty amusing. I was talking to him before the show, to Paul. We just played. We had an ARG Presents about a month and a half ago from Inufito games in Japan. Mm-hmm. The games that they would port to 50, 60 systems. And I mentioned to him, I said, this game would fall quite nicely into the Inufito area because this is the sort of game that could be ported to a lot of systems.
To a ton of different systems,
if you were so inclined. Now, with the that being said...
Any sense with a mouse.
You don't have to have a mouse, but it wouldn't hurt.
You can do it with a joystick, but it's painful.
Where does this fall? What do you think of a game like this? I asked him, I'm like, where'd you get the idea for this? And he mentioned his brother maybe got it from like a phone game or something. And maybe these things are all over the place. I've never played a game quite like this one. I've played games where you like, find a magic picture, or I've played games that are like hunting, point and click. But I never played a single frame game that had a mystery all basically in the same room like this. It's quite clever. I've never done it before.
There's quite a few out there.
What do you think about that genre of gaming, and what do you think about this particular facet to that genre?
The genre overall, I have no interest in. Zero. Zip. None. Nil. Zip. If I would have known what this game was and wasn't pushed into playing it through the game committee, I would have never voluntarily picked this up and played it. However,
a ringing endorsement for the committee.
In fact, it is a ringing endorsement for the committee because they did pick this game and I did play it and I enjoyed the heck out of it. And I enjoyed the heck out of it for exactly why I said. There's nothing on the internet about it. I had to use friends' help to solve the last puzzle to get out of the room, and it's the perfect length. Yeah. It's the perfect length. I'll probably play this. I had this up in my browser on the emulator for probably 2 hours.
Yeah.
It doesn't take 2 hours to play, and in fact, outside of the last puzzle, all the puzzles just came very naturally to me. The part where you can take down the poster and then that hint is gone, I actually like. It kind of sucks, but I like it because it makes you think. Because even in the intro it says, listen, take notes. click on everything.
Yeah.
You know, and it says everything about the game that you need is in the game. You don't have to go to outside sources, which is exactly true. Games like this can get so complicated and so thought broken, where if you're not the developer, it doesn't make sense to anyone else. And sort of the Super Bowl puzzle was like that for me. But for the most part, everything made sense, and I really appreciate that in a point and click.
Everything made sense. What about the real stunning, I never thought I'd see this in the game, Afro Man tribute in the middle of the game where you light the giant bong. Well, now that caught me completely off guard. I'm not going to say I'm the biggest Afro Man fan, but I do love his big hit. And there's a tribute to it if you find it in this with giant bong. That really, I thought that was pretty wacky.
Here's what's really fun about that. If you don't do it, you don't have to. It's not a requirement to finish the game.
Yeah.
And it's really I'm frustrated thing that you do, right?
Yeah.
And it's super cool that it plays the little ditty and it has the lyrics on the screen. And when you're done, it even says, "Listen, man, you want to just quit now, or do you think you can do this?"
Yeah.
And that, I think that's a brilliant little Easter egg, if nothing else, that allows you, if you're frustrated and you just want to quit the game, you can. In fact, I quit the first time through that.
You know, one might wonder if the Afro Man song and the giant bong were involved in the final puzzle of this game.
No.
Because that puzzle that's brutally hard.
No.
I watched you beat the game, and I kept looking at that piece of paper, and I was trying to make it work. And finally, I was like, and I knew the answer, and I still was baffled. You know, so that is the hardest puzzle in the game. I will say, in terms of the ability to play a game like this, I'm no big point and click guy, as you know.
Yeah.
But I like games where I can have some success and it's fun and it's lighthearted. There's no time limit. You're not going to die. You can't screw up. You can fail, but you can't screw up. So for me, I like a little distraction style game like this. It's fun. It's totally free to go out and get it. You can go to the CoCo software archive and grab it. And try it for yourself. Just don't listen to the previous 20 minutes of the show. You'll be fine. But I think I will say this was one. I mean, you can take. We talk about this a lot. We take games as they come.
Yeah.
On the systems that they're on, because me and you have played from the lowest of the lows to the best there is around.
Yeah.
In terms of the quality of the systems. Now the CoCo 3 can crank it up. You know. But that doesn't mean the games have to be massive. Sometimes just an interesting idea. It can be a fun time, and that's what this is. This is an interesting, fun distraction for a couple hours. You're not going to beat it in 7 minutes, but you may beat it in an hour or 45 minutes, and you'll be happy for it. And I would like to see something like this, like some more of these, if I'm honest.
Sure, yeah.
You know, they're just fun. I don't know how hard it is to make something like this, harder than I could do. You know, but I really actually quite enjoyed this one, if I'm honest. We did get some reviews on this. So this was quite the topic of conversation outside of the Discord, because I was talking to a couple people about this on the side that were trying to top it, and I don't think they ever did, if I'm honest. So,
well, and really, there was a fairly lively discussion of people in the Discord that were talking about where they got stuck, and of course, we all got stuck in the exact same spot.
So, of the first review I've got here, as always, our good buddy Pajako 6502 chimes in. He says, "I am still trapped in the room. Call the police. Don't get them though. Don't get them. I got high though." I don't know what so I think he was high when he wrote that sentence. So the game is fairly simple, and once you know what you're doing and pay attention to the instructions, you can blitz through. My first time through, I neglected to make a note of something as the instructions say and spent ages hunting around for a clue that had already gone. I'd wager we both know what that clue is. It's probably that poster. On my second playthrough, I was pretty much done-ish in like 20 minutes, but sadly the last puzzle has me utterly stumped for the time being, and not stumped as in I have the things, I just can't solve the puzzle, and I know when I find out what it is, I'm going to kick myself. Graphically, it isn't bad. Sure, it's simple, but it does the job well enough. Audio is pretty much non-existent except for the tune you get when you do a certain type of thing in the intro audio, but the game doesn't really need much audio. Trying to play via the Mister using a joystick was painful, and I have since discovered you can use a mouse so that you can play the game much better.
Yeah.
Having done a number of actual escape rooms, I can say that the developers have captured the feeling of a real escape room in virtual form on the CoCo. I should have asked if they'd been in an escape room. Now I think about it. I wonder if they have. You're in here, Paul. Have you ever been in an escape room? Anyway, getting back to Jocko. So, if you like this kind of thing, check it out for a quick evening's entertainment, 8 out of 10. And then he also chimed in, I escaped. The last clue was vague as heck. So that was from Jocko. We also, L. Curtis chimed in. I don't know if I'd call this a review. Curtis writes, I've never played in an escape room, either in real life or virtually on a computer, so when I was asked to give a beta version of this a try before it's released with no instructions, I had no idea what I was even supposed to do. Paul Thayer clued me in, and then the game became more fun, but not enough that I ever completed it. It's just not my cup of tea. If I want to rack my brain and bruise it a lot, I will do machine language programming instead. That sounds like L. Curtis Boyle.
It does. It really does.
But I can see why others really liked it, so I wanted to say, give it a thumb up for the review, but it's just not for me. There you go. Which is funny because it was then pointed out that L. Curtis Boyle has a credit in the game that he didn't know he had. So, L. Curtis Boyle, he is always a laugh riot. Paul does say he has been in several escape rooms, and he's only ever escaped twice. So there you go. There were 2 clues in the paper. By the way, that's a good point. That piece of paper, what's that bottom right thing mean? Yeah, I don't know either. So maybe we'll have to get with him after the show to get the final clue on that. So overall, though, I would say, please, if you have the time, I know you've got the cash, hop out and give Me Outta Here a chance. And while you're at it, check out some of the other offerings from the boys' portfolio. They also, I believe, worked on, I think they did CoCo Bond, which we looked at, me and Bo looked at it a couple years ago, which is a Sokoban type game. So they've got a lot of good stuff out there for your perusal, if that's your cup of tea.
The other clue was 2 to the power 10.
I don't get it.
So there was a math puzzle in it.
I still don't get it. How does that, what's that do at the end of the game?
I'm going to assume that 2 to the power 10 comes out to the number 1024.
Oh. No. I don't think so. Oh, 2 carat 10. We're literally getting this. It's being deciphered right in front of us. Let's get out of here, Brent, and talk about what we're going to be up to the next time around. So, this is a rarity in the committee. Something happened. I'm not sure it's ever happened on the CoCo Show. We had a tie in the voting, and so it went to a sudden Jeopardy double overtime. And the next game we're going to be playing after much debate is going to be Gunstar. Speaking of credits on a game, I actually play tested this back in the day. And so we'll be playing Gunstar. This should be a lot of fun. It's another CoCo 3 exclusive. CoCo Show will be back Sunday, April 27th.
So far away.
We'll be back around. Well, it's not too far from now. It's just
so far away.
Just next month. So that will be the next CoCo Show. Let's talk about what we're going to next week on the rotation, Brent. We spun the wheel and we made the deal. And what a deal. Because myself and the Brent next week on ARG Presents, we're going to be playing a couple games on the very wacky GP32 game library. The GP32 Game Parks Holding GP32, which is a handheld gaming system from Korea, South Korea. What makes the GP32 stand out, it's one of the first handheld systems that would let you run emulators.
Yep.
In fact, it was the first one I ever knew about. I don't know if I don't know if the Game Boy Advance came around to let you do that by then or not. I'm not sure, but this was pretty much a handheld device that was almost dedicated to the running of emulators. So we're going to be playing a game. We're probably going to be emulating a game that was sole purpose was to play emulators. So
They had a few games. We'll make it work.
It's a kind of wacky. It's
We'll
a
make
wacky
it
spin
work.
around on that. So please join us for that coming up next week and the week after. Just to give you a quick tip, we'll be back with R. Sinclair. We're going to be playing Mr. Wimpy, the game named after the Brent. So that should be a lot of fun. Brent, before we go, what do you plan on doing in the next until April on your CoCo?
Sleep.
On your CoCo?
Yes. Nestled with it in my bed.
You can just turn on the escape room and pretend you're on the couch. That'd be nice. That's great. Well, any final thoughts, Brent, before we take this one to the house?
Nope.
Very good, very good. Well, good. We'll be back in April. Until then, please remember, always hail.
And press play.
No, it's L. Curtis Boyle. Idiot.